Good morning, Dr. Wahls.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
It's excellent. I look forward to chatting with you and your tribe.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited to have you. You are one of my heroes. I can't find words to describe. I understand we are here to talk about your new research
Yeah,
study. But first, would you like to tell us your story? I know most of my
sure.
followers, they already know you and they read your book and they probably have your cookbook as well. I do,
Oh,
and I love it.
thank you so much. Well, uh, let me quickly tell folks. So yes, I do clinical research, but it all began because I have multiple sclerosis. I was diagnosed in 2000. Within 3 years, things have progressed enough that I need a tilt recline wheelchair. I also have trigeminal neuralgia. Those pains are more and more severe. And it becomes so difficult I cannot even sit up in a regular chair as I am now. I have a zero gravity chair with my knees higher than my nose. I'm beginning to have brain fog. My trigeminal neuralgia is so severe that a light breeze, light sound triggers the pain. And I'm really afraid that's going to become permanently on. And that's when I discover electrical stimulation of muscles. I asked my physical therapist, can I try that? He gives me a test session. Hurts bad, really, really bad. But when it's over, I feel great. And so we add electrical stimulation of muscles to my physical therapy. I have already switched from being a vegetarian to a paleo diet several years earlier. I know that who knows how long it would take fixing your diet to rebuild your brain and your myelin. So okay, at least I'm doing something. I have been reading the basic science. I've been tinkering with supplements to help my mitochondria. And again, it's I don't know how long it's going to take to really rebuild everything. But I can tell that with my supplements, I do have more energy than without. So it feels positive. And then I discovered the Institute for Functional Medicine. I have a longer list of supplements. And then I had this really big aha. Actually, now I'm embarrassed that it took me this long to have it. But it's what if I redesign my paleo diet based on all the science that I've been studying? And so I had several more months of research, and I start this new way of very focused eating December 26th of 2007. And by the end of January, I'm up out of my wheelchair and I'm walking again with walking sticks. And then, by March, I'm walking around the VA hospital without walking sticks. And then in April, I asked my wife, do you think I could try biking again? Because biking was a big family thing that we'd done for years. And on Mother's Day, we had this emergency family meeting because I want to bike. And Jack tells my 16-year-old boy, big, tall, strapping young man, 6'5", you jog alongside on the left, tells my 13-year-old daughter to jog alongside on the right. And I get on my bike and I bike around the block. That 16-year-old boy, he's crying. My daughter's crying. Jackie's crying. I'm crying. And, I still cry talking about that because that's when I understood that the current understanding of multiple sclerosis is incomplete. And who knew how much recovery might be possible? So in October, Jackie signs me up for an 18.5-mile bike ride. And once again, everybody's crying when I cross the finish line. And this really changes how I think about disease and health. It will change the way I practice medicine, and it will change the focus of my research. And since that time, I've been doing clinical trials, testing my lifestyle, my diet, and others to see, could this help others with progressive MS? Could it help others with relapsing remitting MS? And we are now in our 8th clinical trial. So it's very, very exciting. And, you know, now, when I first started talking about this, people were deeply skeptical. I was condemned for creating false hope. But now, you know, let's see, 14 years later, my research is cited and cited and cited, and now I'm being held to this brilliant visionary. So we've made a tremendous amount of progress.
Yes, you are a true visionary. I remember when I was diagnosed, I left my doctor and she told me if I don't start medication within 6 months, I'm gonna end up in a wheelchair. So I cried all day, and then I found your book on Amazon, and you just gave me so much hope. I decided that I'd rather do this route, just eating healthy and change my lifestyle. And 10 months later, I had my son, and 20 months later, I had my daughter. So thank
wonderful.
you.
Wonderful.
Yes.
You know, it's really common for people with MS to have pelvic pain, infertility. And if you go down the standard route, no one's addressing the root causes. But if people, you basically adapt the Wahls protocol, I've often had folks tell me that they've been blessed by having children again, and that they had been trying for years unsuccessfully to have kids. And now suddenly they have one, then they have two, then they have three, and they're like, oh, I guess maybe I do need to use birth control now because suddenly I'm fertile myrtle.
Yeah. It's just amazing. And this new clinical trial,
So this is for people with relapsing remitting multiple sclerosis. And what we're doing is we're comparing a ketogenic diet to the modified paleo diet, which is basically the Wahls diet, to usual diet. People will have to come in to Iowa City, Iowa, for a baseline visit, a 3-month visit, and a 24-month visit. You know, our primary outcome is improvement in quality of life. And we also know that people who do dietary studies all want to improve their diet. That's why they've agreed to be in the study. So we fully expect that all 3 groups will improve, that the usual diet arm, they're going to improve their diet because they're in the clinical trial. And so it's quite, and again, I want to be clear, I expect all 3 groups to improve. Will the intervention groups improve more than the usual care group? We don't know. The other really interesting hypothesis that we're going to test is brain volume. You see, people with MS, our brains shrink 3 times as fast as healthy aging, which is why cognitive decline is so common, why memory loss is so common, even if you're taking disease-modifying drugs. I predict that the intervention group, and quite possibly the control group, by improving their diet, will get their brain volume loss back to healthy aging. And that will be so profound, because all of my neurology colleagues will think that brain volume is so powerful. It's so important, but they don't have any drugs to help people with brain volume. But I think we've got the perfect one, which is diet and lifestyle, teaching people how to eat really, really well.
What do you think, I'm sorry to interrupt, what do you think about meditation and other things
oh my goodness,
doing along with the diet?
I think meditation would be profound. I think lifestyle, physical activity would be profound. And by that, you know, exercise, if you enjoy exercise, that would be great. If you aren't a big exercise fan, wear a wearable thing like Fitbit or Oura Ring and get up and move. You know, walk further. You could dance, you could swim, you could jump rope, you could go biking with your kids, you could play soccer with your kids, just move more. And then you could keep track of your steps. And we fully anticipate that those folks who will meditate, who will do physical activity, and improve their diet, will have the healthiest brains of all.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes. When I was reading the description about this new study, I noticed that you are assigning these people to these three different diets. Why can't they just choose one? Because
Yeah.
let's say if I do
Well,
your...
sure. So that study design would be called quasi-experimental. And that evidence is not as strong as a randomized controlled trial. And one of my goals is to change the standard of care so that every MS patient will get told that diet really matters, and that then you could choose a paleo diet or a keto diet or even a Mediterranean diet, that would be the way to go. To make that evidence, we have to do something called the randomized controlled trial. So people have to be assigned by chance to the control or one of the intervention diets. And that's why we have the control group, and the control group is usual diet.
Mm-hmm.
We have had other studies called that quasi-experimental, and as a matter of fact, we are analyzing that data, and we'll be presenting that study at the Consortium of MS Centers in the spring.
That's very exciting. Yeah. One more question. So this study is for 2 years, and we have to fly to, or I live in New York, that's why I'm saying fly, but we have to go and meet you in person. Correct. And take an MRI. And are you gonna give us like a list of food what we can eat? Yes. Or
absolutely. So we have a food guide for both intervention diets, and the intervention group will meet with the dietitian who will go over the food guide, help you personalize it towards your food taste. And then you'll have access to a monthly group support call where if you've submitted questions, I make a little video and go through all of the questions that people submit. And then our dietitians will answer Q&A for those folks. For the usual diet group, we have a monthly tips on how to improve your diet. So we do give some support to the usual care group as well. Although, again, if you already have a great dietary pattern, because we've inspired you to eat well in the usual diet group, we want you to continue to eat well, and we will give you tips on how to improve your diet in the usual care group. So because I'm trying to create the best scientific evidence, convince all of my neurology colleagues that we've got to be talking about diet for all of our MS patients. We want to do the best scientific study possible.
Yes. Okay.
Now, I want to point out, to find our study, you can go to my website, terrywahls.com, and there's a banner across the top that you click the link, and it'll take you to a screening survey that you'll answer the questions. And then if you are eligible, my team will reach out to you and begin the process of hopefully getting you enrolled and into our study. And if you have progressive MS, I want you to complete the survey, because we're writing a grant right now for a progressive MS, and I'm hopeful that we'll be able to start that study in about a year.
Okay, thank you. How many people do you need for this study, or it's not like a limit?
Well, we're going to be enrolling 156, and I have 52 already enrolled. That means I have another basically 104 that we're trying to recruit for. And we have some funds to help people travel to us, although it won't cover all of your travel costs. It'll make it somewhat easier. You just need to get to Iowa City 3 times, and we would so love for your followers to come, because we still have 100 slots. So yes.
Yes, that sounds good. And I had another question. It was, hold on, was it about the diet or? All right, sorry, my brain fog sometimes just hits me. So.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I'm gonna also post a link. I'm gonna post this video, yes. And yes, anybody, I'm gonna post it under my bio where people can just sign up.
Thank you.
make it easy for everyone. Oh yes, the question was, if somebody is on medication, that doesn't matter,
Oh,
right?
yes, that's right. If you're on meds, stay on the meds. And if you start the study, you're not on meds, but during the course of the study, your physician makes the case you decide to go on meds, that would be fine. We do not want you to start the study and then abruptly stop the drugs because you think just by starting the diet, everything will be fine. It takes time for your brain to heal. So if you're on drugs, please stay on them.
And are you also going to recommend supplements as well?
In the intervention group, there are a couple of supplements that we will recommend. If you're on supplements, by all means, you can take your supplements. But yes, the intervention arm has a couple of supplements that we'll suggest.
Okay, that's great. And I have a personal question.
Oh, please.
About vitamin D. I read it in your book that it's very important to know your number.
Yes.
So not just like if your level is normal, but know the actual number. So when I was diagnosed, my number was 23. And now finally it's up to 110. It took like 3 years almost. And my last exam was a week ago, and my doctor told me to stop taking vitamin D because my level is too high.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on this?
Okay. So this is a great question. So if people are taking vitamin D, I want them to take also vitamin K, because the vitamin D and vitamin K work are really partners together. We know that if your vitamin D level is below 40, you have a markedly higher rate of relapse, progression, in a shorter time to needing a wheelchair. So everyone agrees, most people should agree that we want you over 40. Should you go above the reference range, so the top number would be 80, now that gets controversial. If you get over 80, then we worry, are we putting you at higher risk for kidney stones? Mm-hmm. And that's why your physician is saying you should stop your vitamin D. If you're in my clinical practice, I would say we should probably lower your dose. And for many folks, a dose that works may be 10,000 during the winter and 5,000 during the summer. However, there's a fair amount of variation in terms of how my body handles vitamin D, which is why I always monitor the levels, and then I make a dose adjustments with my target to have people in between 80 and 100, I think is the sweet spot.
Mm-hmm. I see. And do you recommend taking it like once a week, like a higher dose, like let's say 50,000, or every day, like taking 5 or 10,000?
So in general, I prefer that people take it every day. I like to so the supplements that I've created, I put vitamin D and vitamin K together. So if you're taking your vitamin D, I know you're going to take vitamin K as well. And I put it in a little capsule. There are some people that use drops. Drops are a little tricky because you could accidentally, it's not as easy to control. And then there's another thing you can do is go outside and get sunlight, enough sunlight to make a tan. And that's how our ancestors made vitamin D for millions and millions of generations. So ideally, go outside, get a nice deep tan, and you'll make plenty of vitamin D during the winter, probably during the summer. And then during the winter, your vitamin D will just slowly fall. And then, when the sun comes back in the spring, you'll start making your vitamin D. All of those regimens are certainly fine.
Thank you. And what advice would you have for somebody who was just newly diagnosed? I get messages every day about somebody being devastated and no hope, and they just don't know where to turn to.
Well, the very first thing is go get my book, The Wahls Protocol. It will inspire you that there is hope to have a great and wonderful life. And you'll hear stories from me, stories from other Wahls warriors, that there is so much that you can do. And then begin working on improving your diet, ideally doing this as a family, because family interventions are way more successful than individual interventions. And I would encourage you to go visit me on my website, sign up for my newsletters, because then you can hear my discussions that I have about the latest research. And I think that's really always pretty interesting. We'll be doing a MS Summit this summer. That'll be free. And so, sign up for my newsletter so you can see when we announce that. That'll be this summer. And there's hope. There's hope. I've had so many folks with MS and other actually neuroimmune conditions tell me that after discovering my work and rechanging their diet and lifestyle, they feel the best they've ever felt in their lives. And they've come to see that their diagnosis was a gift.
I feel the same way.
Yeah. And my diagnosis, and even my trigeminal neuralgia, decades of immense pain and suffering, I now view it as this amazing gift, even my trigeminal neuralgia, because it's taught me how to live my life. And it's given me purpose and mission to help your tribe and millions of people around the globe. That, my goodness, there's so much we can do.
Yes.
So much.
Yes, I agree. I completely agree. Thank you so much for everything you do for us. It's your work is remarkable.
Oh, thank you.
I'm so happy to finally meet you, and I can't wait to share your new study, and hopefully we get a lot of people sign up. I already filled out the form, waiting for a response.
Well, hopefully we'll meet when you're in Iowa.
Okay, I hope so.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now, much love to you and your tribe.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.